25 is underway, and it goes without saying that we are living in very interesting times. Well, TD Cowen has released a report called Themes for 2025, which digs into interesting themes like healthcare innovation, the silver tsunami, and reindustrialization, as well as 22 other themes. Joining us for more on that report is Lisa Thomas, Managing Director and Deputy Head of Global Research at TD Cowen. Lisa, it's great to have you with us. I got to say, this is a fantastic report. I've cracked it. I've read it. Tell me just about why you do something like this every year.
Sure. Happy New Year, Kim. Well, listen, it's very, very interesting to see the insights that come out when our analysts work together collaboratively across sectors. TD Cowen's Themes report is always one of our most widely read publications of the year. And I think it's because it's so interesting to see what gets teased out when you look at things across sectors and really when you widen the aperture beyond the single stock work that we typically do. So it's very interesting, and I think that many of the themes carry forward over a number of years, but the nuances each years and the specific focuses within themes do tend to evolve. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And I know we don't have time to go through all of them today, but let's go through a few of them. And you've highlighted a few that we can look at, which is demographic shifts, obesity and healthcare innovation, and the reindustrialization and what that means for energy demand. Let's start off with the first one on demographic shifts. And the bottom line, not to steal your thunder, is that people are getting old.
I know. I mean, as you said, it's a silver tsunami. It's really a sobering thing to think about that, in 25 years' time, the 65 plus population is going to represent nearly 25% of the population in the US. It's already 18%. These are unprecedented levels. And so it's really important to take a look at what the implications of that are. It got implications, I think, for the asset management industry. It's got implications certainly for the way in which people want to age in the home services industry, implications for travel, and then it has some everyday implications in terms of consumer preferences and behaviors.
It's some of them, and if we dig into this a little more, I mean, one of them that you highlighted I thought was interesting was on the investment industry and just the types of investments that people may look at as they look to broaden their portfolio and exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an area in which I think there's a real convergence between what aging investors are hoping to see and I think some areas of real policy focus with the incoming Trump administration. So this aging cohort is actually spending a lot less than predecessor cohorts. If you think back to the 90s, an aging population or that cohort had a really inflationary effect because they were really spending down their savings. Now, life expectancy is much longer. People are really concerned about being able to fund, through their entire lifespan. And so they are looking for elevated returns and consistent returns. And one of the things they're hoping to be able to do is get greater access to private investments, private equity, and other investments, from typically alternative asset managers that generally haven't been available to retail investors. We do see that as a big opportunity that's opening. We think it is going to have the support of the Trump administration because it's part of an overall kind of, deregulation trend in financial services that they've articulated as a priority.
And I guess, that they get to your point, it gets easier to get those more sophisticated investment vehicles when the regulation allows that to happen. It's not just aging. I mean, you and I were chatting in the break, too. I mean, I think you've got here in your report, you talk about 23% of the total population by 2050 will be over 65 in the States. It's everywhere in the world, though. I think we're chatting about how, I think it was in South Korea, there's more 80-year-olds than 1-year-olds now. Like, demographics have turned upside down.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And I think that, the U.S. tends to be the tip of the spear in terms of investment trends. And I think that we will see more opening up to investors in the U.S. from, in the private credit realm across a number of different private investments. It's a big opportunity for asset managers. If you think about the U.S. Assets under management right now in the retail individual investor space, it's roughly $150 trillion. And so, even if you were to take 100 basis points of that market, 1%, that's a $15 billion opportunity. So we do expect to see that more here. As you say, it's going to go global because these population trends in developed countries are broadly seen.
I could spend an hour on that one, but I know I got to keep moving. Healthcare and innovation and obesity is another theme that you highlight, and which is interesting because a lot of the pharmas have been hit pretty hard with I'll say the COVID up and the COVID down, but now there's some more opportunity you're seeing.
I think that's right. And it's interesting, actually, this week, we just came out with the results of our TD Cowen proprietary 30th annual drug pricing survey. It's a fascinating piece. It's completely differentiated. We go out to the buyers of pharmaceutical drugs in the US, representing about 25% of the pharmaceutical drug population spend in any given year. And we asked them about their pricing expectations and their pricing intentions. I will say this year we did that specifically after the results of the election were known. And even amidst all the headlines that you're alluding to in terms of concerns about pressures on drug spend, the expectation among these buyers of pharmaceutical drugs is that price increases are going to continue. There'll be low single-digit price increases for each of the next 3 years. So that's an aggregate. There will be ups and downs across different categories, but the trend continues to be up. And I think given the innovation we're seeing, we do expect the market to catch up with that.
Yeah, and I guess it's funny because to your point, in aggregate, you see a trend, but when you dig in some of the categories, I mean, you mentioned obesity, and you think about some of the drugs that have come out that have caught on like wildfire with to helping them manage diabetes and their weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. I mean, think of all of the focus that we've put on obesity drugs over the last year. And that's with a population penetration that is less than 2% of the obese population. So even within, the core population of obese Americans who would be seeking a drug like a GLP-1, for weight loss purposes, there's still a huge amount of growth and penetration in that population. But what we're really, really increasingly interested in and focused on is the continuing, innovation around that class of drugs that looks at all of the other conditions that can be treated. Think about the fact that there are over 60 conditions that are, either adjacent to or, related to the condition treated by GLP-1s. That includes 11 types of cancer and very serious cardiovascular conditions. And those are all, related to that therapy. If there can be, treatments that are improved by that class of drugs beyond obesity, I think that's a huge vein of innovation that we're tapping into.
Yeah, it really is. I've only got about 15 seconds, which is completely unfair to do this category. So we'll have to have you back to talk more deeply about this later. But reindustrialization and energy demand, and this is just like, I'm assuming all the data, all the AI, it just sucks up a lot of electricity.
Yeah, we have an unprecedented need to build out our energy capacity and infrastructure in the United States. It's going to be a huge productivity multiplier, and I look forward to talking to you about it further next time.